And I call the Minister to wind up, but you have until 5 o'clock, Minister.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer. I think it has been a useful debate. As I indicated at the outset, I'm prepared to accept all three amendments. I could, of course, pick, if I wished, at some of the words in some of them, but I think every amendment reflects the shared concern that is right across the Parliament to make sure that we make our roads safer, and that we make our road users' use of these roads safer. Because, of course, it isn't simply an issue that can be built out by forever improving our roads. Indeed, it's pretty clear that an increasing proportion of the accidents on our roads are related to driver behaviour, and that increasingly the engineering interventions that we wish to make in our roads have to be about protecting people who often are confronted by unreasonable driver behaviour from the consequences of other people's accidents, by giving them roads that give them exits, that give them soft options, that minimise the effects of poor driving. I think, too, that we've had some very good contributions from members that highlight a number of different and important issues. Des McNulty has just talked about the visually impaired and shared surfaces. Like him, I think there are some important issues there. I think the idea of clearing a space and making it shared is a very good one, if we can find ways both of giving areas for those who are visually impaired to be protected, but also to allow people to recognise the different needs of people there. Now, of course, the shared surfaces concept is often one which relates to the reduction of speeds in urban areas. It's something that Charlie Gordon, in his as ever thoughtful contribution, touched on when he said we should use measures that affect the way people use our roads to improve safety. And I've got every sympathy with that as an approach. So
Order. There is far too much noise coming from people who have just come into this chamber. Would they please respect the fact that we are winding up a debate? Minister.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Des McNulty also referred to the need to work with Westminster, and of course we do, and I think very largely we've found that we have had a number of good ideas from what Westminster are doing. I think it's clear that they see merit in what we've done, and we shall see much of it reflected in what they do. We're working on slightly different timescales, but we're working to an absolutely shared objective. Mention was made of the Swedish objective, the zero objective. It is worth just making the point that what's happening in Sweden is very important. They've made very good progress, but they don't have the degree of cross-body working that we have, frankly, in Scotland. Introduced by the previous administration, sustained by this one, and perhaps, in fact, at the moment, in Sweden, they're having to rethink to make the kind of progress they previously made, which is not now being sustained. Alec Johnson, among others, introduced the subject of rural road deaths, and those of us who represent areas in the north east of Scotland have very particular concerns around that in relation to young drivers. It is suggested that two-thirds of accidents are driver error. Inexperienced drivers, and note I do not say young drivers, although of course inevitably young drivers will be inexperienced, the inexperienced drivers are definitely up to 5, perhaps 6 times as likely to have an accident in the first year of driving as other people are. So we have to have special focus on them. School buses, as well, Alec Johnson spoke about, and I think Alison McInnes too, is not simply about legislation. Technology can help, but we have to educate, we have to show true leadership. Alison McInnes said, of course, that we need targets. Of course we do. And she pointed quite properly to the risks that children from the lowest socio-economic groups are significantly at higher risk. The S3M budget is being sustained. Driver training is something we're working with the Driver Standard Agency at Westminster on. It is clear some roads do need new investment, and I welcome the work that Stuart McMillan has been doing in his constituency to help identify where that should be appropriate. Jamie Stone, like many, referred to his constituency, highlighted that road junctions present particular challenges, and of course they do. Dave Thompson returned to the subject of alcohol limits for drink driving. I'm glad to see the Liberals in their motion reflecting the position that we've taken. Charlie Gordon got the school jotter out of the back of his pants and talked about curb drill. It is right that we do need some flair and imagination that sustains and travels down even Charlie Gordon's great age to be still in the front of his mind today. We've got to keep doing that sort of thing. Presiding officer, I think we would all be astonished if anyone had risen...
Order, I say again, there is far too much noise in this chamber.
We would all be astonished if anyone had risen to their feet today to oppose road safety. And of course, we have not been astonished. We've had an excellent debate. There's a great deal in it, much more than I can summarise in the brief 6 minutes you have allowed me kindly, presiding officer. We will read the debate very carefully. We will, of course, seek to respond and continue to work with partners. I hope we achieve unanimity when we shortly vote. Presiding officer.